on a television show here. It was a Canadian version of the BBC. It's called the CBC.
Yeah.
And Wendy Mesley was the host. And he had a whole big long table full of little devices like the size of television remote controllers that you could put into your pocket. And he told her to stand 20-odd feet away, and he pointed at the back of her head, and she heard music in the center of her head.
Yeah.
And he said to her, he says, I could have put words there. Directions, words, commands.
Yeah.
And it works in line of sight to any distance. And this had to be microcircuitry. And yet, as he said it towards the end of the show, all of this equipment is obsolete. It was used by the CIA in the 1950s.
My God.
Uh-huh.
So I mean that's the voices in the head right there. Okay.
Right there. And I've often wondered how many people through the last maybe 80 years or so have been locked up in mental hospitals as schizophrenic.
Yeah.
And didn't know they were part of an experiment.
My God. And do you think that all the drugs and then the serotonin type drugs and the chemicals in the food, we got aspartame, MSG, and all this crap. Do you think that this can contribute to this fact also?
I've no doubt. In fact, one of the most interesting books I've read on this subject for a long time was written by a globalist himself, Arthur Koestler.
Yeah.
And he wrote The Ghost in the Machine.
Yeah.
Now, The Ghost in the Machine was back to the ancient Greek philosophers, where they were trying to define what the mind was, the independent thinking mind, that makes you unique as an individual. And the globalists reached this conclusion a long time ago that for their world peace, they would have to destroy the part of the brain which gives you your identity of who you are. And that would have peace. When there's no more conflict, there'll be peace, you see.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, they themselves wouldn't alter themselves because they admitted that if they did destroy this part of the brain, you would no longer be able to have any self-preservation or survival instincts. But they said the public won't need that because the state will be making the decisions for them.
Yeah, of course.
Now, Kessler worked at the United Nations for many years on this project of how to lobotomize chemically, electronically, and by other means, that little part of the brain. And they tried different chemicals which they could inject into you that would travel right to that specific part of the brain and lobotomize you. He said, we have it ready to go. He said, it's successful. We just don't know where to put it in the food. We don't know where to inoculate it into the public.
Yeah.
We don't know where to put it in their water supply or just spray it from the air. And lo and behold, they're doing all of those.
Yeah, exactly. Chemtrails, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I've heard, regarding fluoride and aspartame that a few researchers, I think it was actually a researcher here in Sweden who had studied, I can't remember her name right now, but has studied aspartame, and I know that fluoride has this element to it too, and it is that it becomes more difficult for people to draw connections between different areas when they're have this chemical in their body, basically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, we know that Germany used it. Pre-Nazi Germany, just before the war began, they were introducing it into the water supply of the peoples and into the countries they took over for that very purpose, to make the people more complacent. That's one of the main effects of fluoride. What's interesting, in North America, we found out here that, all the big famous players and names that come on down through history over and over again are involved in this. The Bronfmans, who owned the big whiskey business during the Depression, who were the real mafia at the time,
Mm.
and did all the smuggling. The Brofmans also owned Alcan, which is the biggest aluminum company in North America.
Yeah.
And the byproduct of the aluminum industry is the aluminum oxide, which basically is what fluoride is taken from.
Yeah.
And they have known for over 100 years that aluminum oxide causes Alzheimer's. They've known this. They have definitely known it.
Mm.
Because when they dissect autopsy the brain, they find heavy doses of this in the brain.
Yeah.
So it is no mystery at all.
No.
So yeah, then we find Donald Rumsfeld. The CBC did a documentary on him, and back in the 1970s, he was giving the chemical agencies for gas and warfare to Saddam Hussein on behalf of the United States. And here's the same guy yapping on about weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
He's the same man that was at the head of the company that produces aspartame.
Searle,
he was
right?
the director of that company.
Yeah, yeah.
And here he is, single-handedly, he put the bill in to get it through to accept aspartame in America.
Mm.
So the man is basically a drug pusher, you might say.
God.
Aspartame is an interesting name as well. Asp is a serpent from Egypt. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. And do you know if aspartame is that like a combination of different chemicals suggested in the name also? Do you know that?
I wouldn't be surprised if there's deeper meanings to it.
Yeah.
They love these. It's like the RU46 drug for instant abortion. Are you for sex? That's what it's saying.
Oh my God! Okay.
They love to play these games.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, what's that about? Because that's an interesting area. Because I'm intrigued by this also. You know, how words are being used and so forth. I've read a lot of different articles, and I have them on my site, the Red Eyes website, regarding, you know, the fact that that things like words and terms and you know, can obviously affects, first of all, your thoughts, but that your thoughts actually affects even your DNA down to even that level. I mean, is this something that you have come up to also?
There's a part of that. Mainly, though, if you take the vibrations, not the type that the New Age are trying to practice. If you take a certain frequency or vibration and you amplify that, you fine-tune it, and even keep a frequency and move it up different octaves until it's almost, you don't hear it audibly, but it actually will vibrate the bones in your head. These work on people, and these were known to work in the days of Pythagoras. I mean, even the musical scale came from Pythagoras.
Yeah.
And the word tone came from Pythagoras as well.
Okay.
So these are sciences which were known in ancient times. And of course, standard religions would often use particular tones and frequencies. And chants is a form of hypnosis, putting the followers into a suggestible state.
Yeah.
And it's worked very well up to the present time.
Yeah, that's interesting. Also, earlier you mentioned, you know, because as a front, I guess, or whatever it might be, the philosophy of that we're going to enter an age of peace, so we have to, you know, manipulate mankind into being peaceful, basically. And I've heard this as, you know, termed as the age of reason and so forth, with a Freemasonic connotation there, I guess. I mean, is this something that you've come up against also?
Absolutely. We're living through a religion, actually, that no one talks about. They talk about the symptoms, but they don't realize there's a religion behind all of this. A very old religion. Even the word reason. If you break it down, you have Rhea. Yeah. Now, in Aramaic and Hebrew, Rhea was the wife of Ra. That's what they called her, rather than Isis. Yeah. So they called her Rhea. It's a combination of R-E, which is also another way of spelling Ra. Yeah. And Ah, you know, the one. Yeah. So reason is also a religion. The religion.
Yeah, and I've actually heard religion as the Legion of Rhea, Legion.
Yes.
So I mean, it's all in there. And is this kind of, I mean, because then we talk about people who also have been instrumental in creating the languages and so forth. Is that correct?
Definitely, yeah.
Huh. Like, I mean, English, what is it? It's like a 13th, 14th century language or something.
It isn't even that. It's even later, because it was in the times of Francis Bacon.
Yeah.
Who gets a tremendous acclaim from the high Masonic groups, as part of a team who really created the English language as we know it.
Mm.
And he said in one of his writings, we are creating the international language of the future. He wrote that back in the 1500s.
Amazing.
And then Shakespeare, who many of the High Masons claim is one and the same person as Bacon.
Yeah.
He came out with over 160,000 words in his plays.
Mm.
So that was how they got it out. They gave it through a new Bible, a King James Bible.
Yeah.
And through the plays of Shakespeare, and a whole new language was really born, because the Old English you can find in the writings, if you can get the original writings of Chaucer and other 11th century writers, it really was Old Saxon German.
And I mean, Shakespeare still, it plays all over, in many different theaters all over the world still, basically. I mean, that's like a communication to me that this is, this is important. We gotta focus still on this.
And here's the key as well. Today, when you get a really good movie that is high drama, coupled with historical periods, with mythologies of ancient times, and Shakespeare put a lot of ancient mythology into his writings.
Yeah.
And he knew exactly what would captivate the female psychology and the male psychology. Today, you need teams of producers and writers to specialize in each area.
Yeah.
Well, I don't believe this was one man. Shakespeare was not one man. That could not be done. Simply in reading his understanding of the Greek mysteries, the Greek legends, and mythology, just that alone is a speciality.
Yeah. Because...
So there were teams involved here.
I see. Because this... I can't remember all of it now, but it rings a bell that this has something to do with Pallas Athena, because she was the spear shaker.
Yeah.
Have you heard about this?
I know Pallas Athena, and there are even deeper meanings towards Pallas Athena. You'll see the same thing on the old British coins before it went decimalized in the 1960s. The old British pennies had Diana with her helmet on and her spear and her shield seated on the backs of the pennies. I think you ask yourself, why is that on a British English penny?
Yeah.
This ancient Greek or Athenian symbol, and it's all part of a religion, we find out as we dig into it.
Yeah.
Behind the shield is a serpent, because Diana was always accompanied by a serpent.
Interesting.
So yeah, you're dealing with a religion here, and people who are taught the religion. If you go back into ancient times and you see how empires were created and built up,
yeah,
you would find always a major capital city where one little group ran the money system of that city, or even that city-state. The same people who ran the money were involved in the drug industry, even from the earliest times, for medicine. They also ran the